Today in our 2015 Ford F-150, we'll be installing the Firestone Air Command One compressor system, part number F-2158. This is designed to work in conjunction with airbag systems. In our case, we're using Firestone Ride Rite air helper springs, part number F-2582, that has previously been installed on our F-150. So with our Firestone Air Command One compressor system installed, as you can see, we got a nice display here with an easy to use switch. Just toggle up to operate the compressor, holding it down until you reach your desired air level setting. If you want to let air out, toggle down on the switch, and it will release the air. So as you can see, our gauge goes nice and easy to read. It goes from 0 to 150 psi. Now you want to verify with your airbag manufacturer, see what the recommended max PSI is, and not exceed that. In our particular case, the airbags on this vehicle are rated to 100 PSI. We have this nice, easy to read display with a nice backlight feature, so you can clearly read the gauge during the nighttime or low light conditions. Nice feature about having the air compressor system with your airbags is you never have to get out of the vehicle to adjust the air pressure. No more getting out in the rain to put an air hose onto the Schrader valves in your back bumper. Everything is all included inside the cabin of your vehicle. So if you're driving down the road and you decide, my trailer is putting a little too much load on the back of my truck, you can put some more air into it to raise the back end up. Or if you get someplace you're going and you forget to air down after you unhook your trailer and you're driving back home with no trailer, you realize, oh, it's a little stiff, you can let the air out while you're driving down and smoothing up the ride a little bit. Now that we've gone over some of the neat features of the Firestone Air Command One system, let's go show you how to install it on our 2015 Ford F-150. First, we'll want to get our compressor ready. Take this push to connect fitting, screw it on the compressor, and we'll tighten it down. Now our compressor's got these nice rubber insulated feet to absorb any vibration. We want to make sure these have a secure mount to something. In our case, we're going to use some angle iron here, which you can get at your local hardware store. Just find something that's got some fair amount of holes in it, and you can cut it down to size. So we'll mount it to this, get it nice and secure, so this will absorb any vibrations from the compressor. Now we've found the appropriate holes we're going to use. Take our screw, a washer, come through the back side, take another washer, or nylon lock nut. All of our screws and nuts started, and tighten them down on our bracket now. All right, now on the passenger side of our F-150, we're going to mount our compressor in this area on the frame using a fender washer and a self-tapping screw. Line our compressor up in a good location. Now if one's started, we can go ahead and do the other three. Now let's ground our compressor using another self-tapping screw. Just going to go to a suitable location on the frame. Right about here will work. Now let's hook up the positive side connection for our compressor by inserting it onto the orange wire on our relay harness. Once we have it inserted, we'll make sure we push this weather-tight seal back down onto it to keep all dirt, debris, and moisture, things of that nature out. Now with the power wire from the relay harness pulled out towards the front, let's go ahead and mount a relay to the frame using another self-tapping screw. We need to continue routing our wires towards the engine compartment, making sure we avoid any sources of heat or moving parts while we do this. So following alongside the frame, there's this bar that sticks out here. We can route over that and then slide our way into the engine compartment and pull the rest of our wires up. Now underneath the vehicle again, on this body mount here, there's already a pre-existing hole we can use to secure our wires going in the engine compartment with a zip tie. This will just keep them from dangling. Once you have your zip tie secure, cut off the excess. Now our power wire, we can zip tie off to near the battery just to keep this slack from going down or resting against the exhaust on the engine. The white wire, which will go inside the vehicle, we can do the same thing further back against the firewall though, because we will be routing that wire over to the driver's side. I'm just going to take the white wire across to the driver's side, put it out of the way for the time being. This end here of our fuse holder will be making the connection to our positive terminal of our battery, but first we need to take care of all this excess slack in the cable. So let's just make a nice little loop of it, and we'll secure it off to the side with a zip tie. The wire bundled up, we'll cut off our excess zip ties. Now we want to find a place to mount our switch and our gauge. The lower right hand side of the dash on the driver's side is about the best spot you can find because it's out of the way when you're trying to get in and out of the vehicle, but it's still within reach of your arms while you're driving. Now if you have access to drill a hole and to use nuts and bolts, that's great. In our case, we're just going to use some self-tapping screws. Our controller has a light inside of it so you can see the reading when it's dark. That's what these two black wires are for. It doesn't matter which one you use. One's ground, one will be power. So you want to take one of the black ones and connect it to a light bulb source underneath the dash, something that's operated off a dimmer switch or something that comes on when you turn your headlights on. Conveniently located near our controller, there's a light right here. I've already found that the green and orange wire here has 12 volts applied to it when the headlights are on or when you open a door. I unplugged the light so we can work on it a little bit easier. We'll just take our T-tap here, push it onto the wire as far next to this electrical tape as we can. That way we have room to slide it back into its assembly. I went ahead and slid one of the black wires through the hole for the light so we can just make our connection. Okay, fold over the connector, reinsert the wire back up to the hole, put the light assembly back in, and we can continue making our other connections. We take one of the white wires going to the switch, doesn't matter which one. We'll slide our other quick connect over it and take the other black wire for the light, insert it to the other side, making sure the black wire's inside. That way it doesn't accidentally touch anything else with the end of it, but making sure that it crimps down. Fold that back over. We'll take off this connector here and put a ring terminal on it. Strip off a little bit there. So we'll crimp our ring terminal onto our ground wire, like so. Then we'll remove a 10mm nut right there where my finger is. Nut removed. Take a wire, stick it over the stud, and reinstall our nut. This grommet right here, where we've got this big bundle of wire going through, the section of the grommet sticking out has a little cover over it. If you push the grommet inside the car, you can take a utility knife real easily and cut that top layer off, and then from the inside you can stick a screwdriver through the hole, and that'll give you a nice access port to run your air lines and wire into. Now we'll take one end of our air line and our white wire that we ran over from the passenger side, and we'll tape them together so we can easily route the white wire into the vehicle. The air hose will pass in on its own fairly easily since it's somewhat rigid. All right, now that we have our air line in the vehicle, along with our white wire, let's go ahead and trim off a little bit where we may have possibly damaged it pushing it through. And we can heat it up with either a heat gun or stick it in some hot water for a while to help slide over the hose barb fitting on our switch. This is going to be our supply line, and it's going to go to the switch side. The one that goes out to the airbags will go to the gauge side. All right, connection's been made. And I connected that to our switch side of our panel. With the white wire we brought through the firewall with this pink connector on it, we can plug into the other white wire on our switch panel, just like so. Now, let's go ahead and hook our supply line up that we routed through the firewall to the compressor. Following the same path we took for the white wire coming over from the passenger side, we'll route our air line down to the compressor the same way. With our hose routed back to the compressor, we'll go ahead and put it to the output side and just push in the fitting until it stops and give a tug back. Okay, that's secure. Now we'll take our air filter here, take our hose fitting, screw it on here, hand tighten it with a 5/8 wrench. Now we're ready to put our air hose onto the fitting for our compressor for the air filter. We'll do this the same way as we've done the other fittings, making sure we get the hose heated up nice and hot in some warm water, or you could use a heat gun if you have one handy. It's a different color from the rest. It is a black hose versus a red hose. We did that because we needed extra air line since this is a rather long vehicle. If you need extra air line available to complete your installation, it is part number F9151 for an 18-foot long section of 1/4-inch black tubing. Okay, with our hose on our compressor, we can route the rest of it towards the front of the vehicle into the engine compartment where we'll mount our filter so it's in a nice and dry location and won't worry about it getting wet. Making sure I zip tie the hose here in a location on the frame so it won't hang down or get a kink in it while I pull it towards the front. We routed our hose as close to the frame as possible, zip tied it to our other hose that we have, went around this body mount, went to the other side of this body mount and secured it through the hole off the frame tab, and went up around the fender skirt into the engine bay and have everything secured going on the way up there. Now we went ahead and heated up the other end of our hose and put it on the end of our filter. Now we'll zip tie this hose up to this wiring harness here. That way it's not going to fall down anywhere, and we have easy access on it to change our filter if we ever need to change it. Cut off the excess of our zip tie. Now we're on the driver's side of the vehicle. We went ahead and already rerouted our hoses from the previously installed airbags. We're going to hook both lines going to the airbags into this T fitting right here. Do that. Just insert, push it until it stops, pull back to make sure it's secure. Trim back this other one here a little bit. We'll hook it to the other side of the T, like so. And we can secure these up out of the way to these brake lines right here with a zip tie. Take our other end of air line that we have, push it in to the fitting on the T, and we'll route this up and into the vehicle. With the other end of our air line pulled up from the bottom, we can push it through the grommet and the firewall next to the other air hose. Now with our air line routed inside the vehicle to the grommet, cut off our excess, and we'll heat up the end again with either a heat gun or stick in some hot water for a few minutes, and we'll make our connection right here to the gauge. We'll press it onto our fitting, Now we'll finish up our installation by tidying up underneath the dash, making sure none of the hoses or wires are in the way of the pedals or any other moving parts such as the steering shaft. So I'll just zip tie it up to a wiring harness there, giving us plenty of room around. Bundle up this wire here. Now for our power wire with a fuse, we'll make our connection to the battery. We'll take a ring terminal, push it on the wire, crimp it into place. Take an 11mm socket, loosen the nut, holds the stud in place. Slide our ring terminal over the stud, place the nut, and snug it on down. And replace the protective cap as best as possible, like so. And that completes the installation of our Firestone Air Command One compressor system, part number F-2158 on our 2015 Ford F-150.